Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Welcome back to the No Nonsense Podcast. I'm joined today by someone who I'm kind of surprised I've never really collabed with in any formal capacity before. Although, am I right in actually saying that, or am I lying to the audience right now? Am I correct here, Stod?
I mean, when's the last time? I mean, I'm surprised we haven't played Warzone together, but when's the last time I was truly a zombies,
That's
fanatic?
True. That's true. The worlds have come together this year. So some context here is Stod here is what would you describe yourself as actually? Ex-Battlefield, I think that's fair, right?
Ex-Battlefield,
yeah.
Ex-Warzone,
yeah.
Ex-DMZ now.
Yeah.
And now ex-Zombies, because I finished the story.
No,
not completely. The plan was, I've completed the content now. Now it's on to Warzone. Back to Warzone.
I see. Okay. So Stod has gone around the houses, as you can tell, and that puts him in a pretty unique position to just sort of dig into the fact that as of, about 3 days ago, we had the final confirmation that DMZ is over. It's gone.
Which is something that we've been expecting for a while. I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting. I thought there was going to be something. But obviously, as soon as we heard that there was no details at the big announcement for Warzone, everyone was a bit like, okay, well, they're not even mentioning it. Like, that's definitely sus. And obviously, we talk to our audiences and we were like, I'm pretty sure this is bad news. And everyone's like, no, dude, they're going to say something. Season 1. Just wait for the announcement for Season 1.
Right. I've seen so much disbelief in that regard. But before we get there, let's just walk it back. For people that are less familiar, I've got a lot of Zombies players that hear the word DMZ and a little bird starts tweeting in their head and they completely zone out. So just for context, for those of you that haven't been paying attention for the past year, DMZ was a new mode that came in for the first time ever. We'd never experienced anything like it before in COD, in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the remake in 2022.
Yep.
And it was essentially the precursor to Modern Warfare Zombies. But interestingly, the DMZ mode was always referred to as a beta, right? It never left beta. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it even says DMZ beta on one of the loading screens.
Right, yeah. In Modern Warfare Zombies, it says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this mode came out and it wasn't Zombies. So I don't think the Zombies audience really jumped on it in the normal way that they otherwise would do with a Zombies mode. And it also wasn't Warzone, so some Warzone people jumped in, but others were like, well, it's not Warzone, so I'm not interested. But it kind of created its own pocket of content and cult following and all that sort of thing. And you, I guess, were making a lot of Warzone content during the pandemic and stuff like that. And then talk to me about how you then moved into DMZ.
So I mean, we kind of thought like, Warzone 2 is coming out. It's going to be the next big thing. Remember Warzone 1, guys? That was our biggest year, dude. This is going to be like the new biggest thing. It drops. And weirdly, the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer was like super popular. Like I've never seen like the amount of interest and like clicks on videos about MW2. So I was like, Warzone 2 is going to be massive. And then it comes out, it drops. No one-shot snipers. That's like my thing. I was like, oh damn, okay.
You were a big sniper in Battlefield, right? That was like a lot of your content and focus. Yeah,
that's basically a lot of what I focused on. But yeah, like Warzone 2 dropped, and like the interest was just off a cliff, like immediately for Warzone 2. And I was a bit like, I thought this is what everyone wanted. I thought this was like the main big thing this year. So I was still like, okay, I guess we'll keep playing Warzone. It grinds a little bit when you're playing in the full sweat lobbies like every day. You're trying to make content or whatever. It wasn't going smoothly. And then obviously like I tried DMZ and I was like, what is this? This is like a limited time mode or something. Like they're trying out like AI in Warzone, which they had in it anyway. But so I tried it out a couple of times and I didn't get into it at all. I was just okay. There's not enough PvP. You only see like 5 people around a lot of the time. So played it a couple of times and then just stopped playing. And then I played, because also I played solo as well. Probably a bad idea. So I played solo and the game is not, as we know, it's not really made for solos.
Punishing.
But when you play with a group and then you like run around, you start doing, and once you get out of those first few missions and you start having these crazy rounds of like 45 minutes, like 5 different fights with players, going for the weapons case, like all of these really iconic moments, like that's when I started to be like, oh my God, this is actually, when you finally get one of those rounds, like one in every 5 or 6, you're like, wow, okay, this one was actually pretty entertaining, and it's great for a long, a thing for someone to watch. Like, people are really sucked into it if you're completing an objective.
So going from there then, give me like a sort of like condensed version of the whole year, right? The whole year of DMZ and how the community for DMZ evolved and the content for DMZ evolved over those 12 months in the build up to Modern Warfare 3, obviously still being in beta, because I'm curious for you, once you kind of got sucked in and clearly the same thing was happening to other people. They were maybe Warzone players that were like, oh, I'll give it a try. And then they managed to kind of get hooked.
Yeah.
What was it was the kind of evolution of both content in the mode and then also just what you would jump in and do day to day as a player over those 12 months? Like, how did they progress it for you?
Okay, so when DMZ first came out, it was simply like you were just doing these like really basic missions. But the big thing that they missed the mark on throughout the rest of the year was the weapons case. If you remember, every single video about DMZ in the first month was about getting the weapons case and getting the skin from the weapons case and killing the chemist. The chemist dropped the weapons case, right?
Yeah.
Originally.
So the context there is that the chemist was like essentially a warlord from Modern Warfare Zombies. Same exact kind of type of objective. You jump in, they're a high level, like boss level enemy. They've got a load of like annoying things around them, little other enemies around, and there's
he's
gas
in the gas. And you have to have a gas mask. And anyway, so that was literally like, that's what sucked people in originally, because they were like, oh, everyone's trying to go for this weapons case. It's King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Everyone on the server would go straight
I forgot about that. And there was only one case. It was like a shared, or I don't know, I always get this mixed up, shared loot pool. Basically, there was one unique item, and as soon as someone picked it up, other players would then get a marker on where that person was. So yeah, that was where the moving King of the Hill aspect of it came in.
And the only reason people even bothered playing DMZ was because you got that skin by extracting it several times for was it a character skin or a gun skin or the gun to unlock the M13.
Yes.
So it forced Warzone players to play DMZ and try it, and everyone would just rush straight thing. And you have these huge 20 people fights over the weapons case. They never did that again.
Wait, they didn't?
As in, they never made a really good skin or gun unlock from getting the weapons case.
Oh, I didn't know that.
From killing the chemist, as far as I know.
Oh, okay, because it was that you would exfil once with a weapons case, and you get a little like 1 out of 10 on this little like loading bar 7, right? Or 7. And I think somewhere in there, or maybe at the end of that I think it was called the Silver Tox blueprint for the M13B.
And also you had to unlock the M13 by killing the chemist and extracting it.
Right.
That was the only way you could unlock the M13, as far as I remember. There might have been another way.
Right, okay. So, that was a really very clear grind for players to work through. I am stunned they didn't do that again.
I think they added the weapons case in to all of the other maps.
Okay.
But, it was never a serious thing. It was just, something that was on the map, and people just ignored it. It was there was never that kind of, incentive to be like, I got to go for the weapons case, dude, because I want to get that thing. Or some people would do it like the completionists, but they never captured that whole thing of I need the weapons case this season in order to get the weapons or this best weapon that the new skin or the new weapon that chemist drops. They didn't really capitalize on that, and then they never really had any items in the game that you cared about ever again. Apart from maybe GPUs.
So how did the content evolve over, what did people, was it just essentially gun guides, but instead of on Warzone, it's on DMZ? Or was it what were you spending your time on kind of thing?
So first thing I did was how to survive in DMZ, because a lot of people would just go in, play, dying immediately, because there's no tutorial. You just died. And then a lot of people probably started the game, went, okay, I've died to AI 5 times. I'm never playing this again. And I think the player churn for that was rough. So I made a guide on, getting in, getting a 3-plate, getting self-res, extracting, coming back in with better weapons, and then doing your missions so that you're max plated. etc. So I did guides for that. We did guides for missions because some of the missions were quite annoying.
And there were new missions every season, right?
Yeah, for the first 3 or 4 seasons, they did like a set of new missions. I can't remember how many there was originally, but I think it was maybe only 3 factions or 4.
Yeah.
And then the season 2 was they added a new map straight away. I think it was a Sheikah, right? So
there was Building 21, I think, first, right?
Was it?
I think so. I think Building 21 was teased, and then you needed the key cards to get in.
Yes.
And then the key cards were bugged, so you could just reuse them, which was great because everyone then just could access this cool new map. Which I was a fan of.
And the missions for Building 21 weren't ready. So
right.
So we had Al Mazrah season 1, did the missions, and we were like, okay, that's pretty cool. There was a couple of PvP missions in there that were really cool.
Yeah.
The roof rats and you had the Al Mazrah Tower roof rats in the city, and then you had the roof rats in the shopping mall.
Okay. Yeah.
So you had to kill players in that area. They were kind of cool quests.
Uh-huh.
And then season 2, Building 21, and it was kind of like this. You just went for the weapons case again, but it didn't really. There was no big reward for the weapon case again in Building 21.
That's very interesting context. Given that, fast forwarding now to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and there's so much to talk about there, but just specifically in isolation, the Bone Collector skin that you get for completing the final mission in Act 3 of the game's pre-season 1 missions. That's a really, really cool operator skin and is really incentivizing people to grind through and do all of those missions. Like, people are really excited about that skin.
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't repeat that same mechanism in DMZ makes me worry that maybe they won't repeat that same mechanism in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies now, despite the fact that it's been so successful in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies.
Yes. The carrots on the stick.
Spooky.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my carrots, man.
Yeah, it keeps you going.
Yeah. So going into towards the end of the year, like you said, returning now to that the point you made earlier, we had COD Next and we had various events that were teasing updates to Modern Warfare 2 or the release of Modern Warfare 3, and DMZ was just kind of left by the wayside, right? There was never like, hey guys, we still really care about making sure that DMZ is updated. It was always just like radio silence or please wait for like an announcement later, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had an insane amount of content up until season 4 or 5, basically once they added that last map. And then after that, there was a wipe. That was it. There was no new content. And we were just like, okay. I mean, that is the most amount of content I've ever been given on a game ever.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a game add 4 massive maps. Obviously, they are part of Warzone 2.
Yeah.
But like, I've never seen a game make 4 maps and add missions for each of those maps, each update per season. Like, we were spoiled. I don't think I've been spoiled like that before.
My friend, you gotta welcome to Zombies. Like, we get
every
4 DLCs
season?
a year. I mean, in Cold War, it was like every season and a half. So 4 maps over 6 seasons. But that's the Zombies formula, right? Is we get 4 maps a year, typically. Apart from World at War was an outlier. We got 3. But the Zombies was so early back then that no one was counting, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's insane. Like, it's an entire new map to grind. It's an entire new Easter egg quest to work through. There's an entire new side Easter eggs to do. Entire new high rounds. Entire new story. Entire new cutscenes.
Yes.
And, I mean, in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, it's going to be a bit different, and we'll talk about that now. But a regular Zombies round-based year is pretty similar to what you're describing there. It's just obviously not the same gameplay format of the extraction shooter,
I guess.
It's a little bit more of a narrow experience compared to the variability of having PvP in the mode. And that's maybe actually a good point to sort of to launch into Modern Warfare 3 Zombies with. We get the announcement of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. We get the announcement that it has DMZ-like features. People obviously start talking about that. They're saying, oh, okay, this is going to be a DMZ replacement. Other people are saying, no. DMZ is still going to be just fine because I will never touch zombies. Like, I'm not a zombies person. I want DMZ. So Modern Warfare 3 Zombies comes out and there's no PvP and there's no expectation that there's going to be PvP in the future. And all the DMZ players are like, well, I'm just not interested then. Like, I'm here for PvP. I'm here for the randomness that PvP provides.
Yes.
So for someone like yourself,
Yeah.
As a PvP enjoyer, how's that been, both from a content creator perspective and then also trying to navigate that with your community, just actively not wanting a PvE experience?
I mean, it has been rough because all of the content for DMZ is the PvP, all of it. Like I think I've done one video out of like 100 maybe that have been owned. Well, I don't know if it's maybe like 50.
Sure.
One video out of 50 that have been PvE only, basically showing how hard a mission was. And so I don't think the crossover is that strong. But the difference is, and also just to get that out of the way first, PvP and zombies would never work, ever. I think that if they added PvP and zombies, it would have to be extremely structured, remove the Pack-a-Punch, remove the gun levels. Like, it would have to be like you go to an area, all of your loot falls off, and you basically just have your regular gun again. Because if they added PvP and zombies, it would be mayhem. It would be like Borderlands Duels, if you've ever done that. You know, that's my example. Like, you go into Borderlands, you both start the duel, bang, dead. Okay, whoever shot first wins. Like, it would be insane.
Yeah. I've not actually thought about that, but that's so true. Like, if someone spawns in with a pap crystal and you don't have one, and they just look at where you are on the map at the beginning of the game and then just come and trample on you. Like, wow, The
PvP would unfortunately be horrifically unbalanced.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way to balance it without basically saying, oh, you go to this zone or you go to this instance to do your PvP, you don't get pap, you don't get leveled up weapons. You just, you know what I mean? That's the only way I could see it working. So it would almost have to be DMZ zombies hybrid, but no one gets their upgraded weapons.
Yeah. Although, surely there's always some inconsistencies with regards to, like, if a player has a 3-plate vest compared to if they don't, right? And, like, if they spawn in with one, they're going to be more powerful. And in DMZ, like, they're going to win a fight. They're going to have that purple armor or whatever, and you're going to be screwed.
Sure.
I wonder if there was a way that they would be able to balance it so that, like, maybe it was just a map that was like a little side map that you would spawn into, a little side instance. So instead of it being within the normal experience, you could load that particular, like a Building 21, but in Building 21, you can't spawn in with a crystal. You can't spawn in with an ether wrench. You can spawn in with a different, like, armor vest. That would maybe be okay, just to mimic the DMZ formula. And then in sort of like a RuneScape wilderness kind of vibe, you'd load into that space, be able to PvP, but then as soon as you're out of that space again, you can't anymore.
And maybe you could extract the crystals and you could extract the tools, but you couldn't use them. And it would be a really cool, like, place for it, basically a great crossover. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Building 21 with zombies instead of AI and regular levels to get stuff that you need to get out.
Yeah, like, can you imagine? So for context, Building 21 was like an underground complex that was sort of a lab, sort of a warehouse kind of vibe. Lots of narrow corridors, things like that, with a little courtyard in the middle. And one of the AI that were present in that space was a little robot, a little Wheelson robot that would roam around, and it's basically a sentry turret on wheels. It would shoot you if you're in its line of sight, and if not, then you're fine.
Sure.
And the idea of replacing that in a similar narrow corridors kind of format with a Mega Abomination or something, and having that trampling around those narrow corridors with PvP also enabled, that would be chaos. That'd be so cool.
If they could literally just take Building 21 and just revamp it into zombies, that would work. Like, straight up, just rip it. Like, if it's not going to be used anymore, if they're not going to be updating it, rip 21, put it in zombies, put PvP in.
Yeah, I mean, seeing as the new rifts coming in season 1 in just a couple of days, by the time people listen to this, they'll probably already be out. But the fact that those rifts are taking place on Al Mazrah is making me think that where normally I would say, oh, just repurpose content, that's a pipe dream. Actually, in this instance, maybe it's not. Maybe that's a really reasonable guess to make, that they might end up bringing us back to that Building 21 space at some point.
It would make sense.
Why not stick a couple Mega Bombs in there? Like, I'm just saying.
I mean, they might be two. If you could only maybe get one in the main courtyard area, but yeah, definitely the smaller guys.
Yeah,
like, you could have a few Marauders in there. Yeah,
100%. So the audience has pretty much drawn a line, I think, in many ways between saying like, okay, well, I'm not a DMZ person or I'm not a zombies person, and so I won't watch the other one, right?
Yeah, I think they try, but I don't think the DMZ audience is enjoying the zombies content for sure. Maybe they'll like Warzone, but I think the PvP is certainly the glue that sticks them all together.
Got you. Which is really interesting because the zombies audience also drew a similar line before Modern Warfare 3 Zombies came out. The zombies audience said it's not round-based, and so I hate it. Like with a capital HATE. They were like, fully, put it in the bin. This isn't what I want. Like, it's awful, right? But then it came out, and my comment section transformed overnight from pure negativity, pure hatred of this new thing, to people being like, I actually just gave it a shot, and it was pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's not round-based, but I'm still having a good time. It's just different. And so it's really interesting to me that obviously it's still within the PvE umbrella, but the fact that the zombies round-based people are, I have experienced, often convertible to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, whereas the DMZ players, I think, less frequently are, is an interesting little divide there. But I'm curious to hear from you, specifically with regards to making content on it all. Yeah. As someone that likes to play PvP, do you feel like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is holding your focus, or is it sort of just a good stopgap for a couple of weeks, but now that Warzone is about to launch as well, that's going to be your primary focus for the year? And do you reckon all the DMZ people are going to just migrate back to Warzone as well, like all those players? Now, just before Stodeh answers the question here, this is just a message from Milo from the future, letting you guys know that you have only got a few days left to buy merch, zombies-themed merch, specifically from MiloMerch.com. There's a bunch of stuff there that returned from Black Ops 3. We've got some new Modern Warfare 3 Zombies-themed designs, some Abomination stuff, some Ray Gun stuff, some Panzer stuff. There's all sorts of stuff in there. So go check out MiloMerch.com, see if any of that merch would appeal to you, maybe pick up a poster, something like that. And if you purchase before that sale ends on December 10th, we'll make sure to send it out to you before Christmas, so you can gift it if you want to as well on Christmas Day. The link for that is quite simple, guys. It's MiloMerch.com, MiloMerch.com.
I think a lot of them are just going to stick playing DMZ. I mean, personally, for me with zombies, like the mission structure in zombies compared to DMZ, even that is not as what's the word I'm looking for?
Just entertaining, or
even in depth. Like the missions in DMZ are a lot more kind of.
Give me some examples. Like walk me through the difference you're seeing there.
So, for instance, a lot of the missions in DMZ, or at least a few of the missions in DMZ, good examples are you take an item from an area in one map, take it to a second map, then you have to do something with it in that map.
So you have to exfil with it first? Is that how that works?
Exfil with it first,
okay.
Take it into another map, do something with it there. That one's maybe good. There's ones where you have to interact with players, like you have to wait for the exfil chopper. That was a sick one. You have to wait for exfil choppers from enemy players, put a tracker on it as they're leaving without them killing you, and then you had to put it on 3 enemy exfil choppers in one round, and then the final exfil chopper without dying.
Oh, damn. Okay, like that's a pretty intense mission. Damn.
Yeah. And so with the zombies missions, like, unfortunately, 90% of them are kill X with Y.
Yeah.
Like, and that almost feels like just achievements or like daily missions for me. Like, the actual story missions themselves are almost like are way above anything that DMZ offers in terms of the production value and just like having these like cinematics and it all intertwined, almost like missions from a campaign. Like I actually really liked the Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 like story missions where you go when you extract into the missions. Those were really cool. But the other missions just don't do it for me. It just feels like I'm just doing dailies.
So it's almost like they've gone too far in the extremes here of like they've gone too far one way with making the missions really simple and uninteresting, and then they've clearly spent a lot of production value and budget and time on making a handful of missions really freaking cool, whereas DMZ kind of existed in a happy middle ground where I'm sure some of its missions were just like extract with 10 stims, but then you did have missions in there that were not necessarily cutscene level missions, not campaign level missions, but still really engaged you and made you think and play in a unique way. Do you feel like if Zombies was able to achieve that, it would sort of bring you back in sort of like 6 weeks time or 3 months time or whatever. Let's say a new season comes out in the future and they've got a really interesting mission set. Do you think that would pull you back in, or do you think that the player element is needed for them to really engage you there?
Like for me, for instance, I haven't made a single video on the zombies content. I've been streaming it, but like I've not found something interesting enough for me to make a video on.
Yeah.
That's the way I've seen. So like DMZ, it's quite easy. You know, something happens in the round, players mess it up. You either lose everything and have a comeback, or you fight them off and you win the day. Yay. But like at the end of the day, like it's a lot easier to make content on DMZ because so many random elements and variables affect the missions that you're doing. Whereas with zombies, I don't think I have ever died and not extracted without there being a crash.
Damn.
You know? You know what I mean? Like I've never had an intense scenario where I've actually been like, oh damn, I died, and there's no way. Obviously, I don't play solo, so obviously I always have someone who's going to be there to res me most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe that's the difficulty. Maybe I should go in with solo more. But like, I've never felt like actually tested. Tier 3 actually pretty fun now. They've actually made it like pretty interesting. I really enjoy running around in Tier 3 on Urzikstan. That's sick. Like surviving, that actually feels like I'm fighting for my life.
Okay, so
like,
it sounds like maybe the solution then is maybe not in season 1. Maybe if they're able to squeeze it in there soon, that'd be amazing. We'll see in a couple of days. But just at their earliest possible convenience, bringing in some missions that are maybe tier 3 specific.
Yes, challenging. Yeah,
that are just hard. You just need difficulty. That sounds like a big part of it.
Genuinely, I think they need some like almost impossible missions. Almost like only 1% of the player base is going to be able to do them. That's the sort of thing I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do. Which is, I guess, what high round zombies was like. You know, getting to certain rounds without, you know, having to know every nuance in order to survive until these late games.
Right, and also Easter eggs. Those main quest Easter eggs are very much that experience, and it's a big reason of why round-based players have been disgruntled with Modern Warfare Zombies, is that it feels like it's completely casual focused. I've talked about this. I did this whole like whiteboard video breaking down all the sort of cohorts of the zombies community as I see them currently.
Yeah, I think I saw that with the different names and
it's difficult because obviously people play the game in so many different ways now, and they didn't used to. Zombies used to basically have maybe 1 or 2 types of player, and that felt like pretty much it. Whereas nowadays there's like 20 different ways to engage with zombies. But the massive cohort of or a massive proportion of the zombies viewers on YouTube are the people that really love the Easter eggs because they're more hardcore. And going into Modern Warfare Zombies, it's just not a hardcore experience. There is just nothing hardcore about it from beginning to end, start to finish. No. The boss fight isn't hardcore. The hardest of the hard missions aren't hardcore. They are still easy. And there's just really nothing to promote or provoke any more complicated strategy or thought than, where can I find this enemy type? Like that's the limit of thinking that a given player has to sort of do in order to succeed through the guided content of the game. At some point there will be an Easter egg, which I'm really excited about, but my guess is that's not coming till like season 4 or something. Like I just don't see it in the near future. Maybe I'll be surprised and it'll be in season 2 and it'll be happy days and I'll be able to make my normal Easter egg content. But as it stands, there's no word, and no word makes me think there's probably a while out. Have you done any of the zombies Easter eggs? I'm curious.
If you mean the ones where you get the Perca-Colas, or is that not the Easter eggs you mean? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not deep into
you little DMZ player, you.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that.
No, I'm talking. Do you even know that these things exist? Am I about to blow your mind?
No, I remember. If I remember correctly, the last time I played zombies, I remember even to advance through the level, you had to know like some crazy like there's the level in the town with the train line. And it's like feels like Amsterdam, and you have to like know specific things to get. I don't know. It was that's the last time I like played one of the ones where you had to like know specific things in order to advance to the next bit. Because you'd have to have So I'm obviously not.
This is really interesting though. This is really fascinating. did you spawn in? Did you have to turn into an octopus?
Potentially. I think it was Black Ops 3.
Yeah. Black Ops 3 launch map, Shadows of Evil.
Potentially.
Okay.
But I played loads of Cold War Zombies. Loads of it. Because you could farm the weapons really good.
But did you do the Easter eggs in Cold War?
Maybe.
You might not have done.
There was one.
Did you ever fight a massive blue man?
Oh, God. Maybe? I remember there was one where you go through the portal. This is what I mean, man. Like, Cold War Zombies is a complete blur because I was just like, no lifing, just leveling weapons.
That's fair. No worries. Thing. Yeah. I'm so curious because to have no-lifed the game a lot and to have played a lot of zombies, but still not have necessarily tapped into those aspects of it is so interesting to me because it's so rare to have a zombies player that's not necessarily been exposed to a lot of that over the years. But now I've got you here. I've got my surgical tools out. I'm gonna poke and prod. So in Cold War, do you remember in D Machine, the launch map? Do you remember having to do a thing where at the end you're on a 60-second timer and you have to run from the Pack-a-Punch machine out of the building in order to escape?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, not just a regular exfil. I'm talking like you take down the big bad boss inside that room, the like big Orlov, his name was, I think. Yeah. You take him out and then you have to escape in 60 seconds. Do you remember that?
Oh, maybe I didn't do that.
Okay.
Because remember, I was leveling guns.
Yeah,
so I'd get to round 30 and I'd be out of there because my XP cap was on.
Yeah. Okay, so how about in Firebase Z, you do a bunch of stuff, which then involves you getting a cutscene where a woman comes out of you. Do you remember that big spherical building in Firebase Z, the really big like dome building? You couldn't go in it. It was just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was like a ramp going up to it, but the doors were shut. Ringing any bells?
No.
Okay, so there's a cutscene where a woman runs out of there, and then you actually teleport. Or you like from the end of the cutscene, you go to a new space, which is the spawn area, but the spawn is changed, and there's a massive monster that's like beating a hammer down.
Yeah, I remember the massive monster.
Okay, so
I don't know whether I saw someone play it or if I played it myself. You know, it's like I may have had an out of body experience where I remember playing it, but maybe I was watching someone else's gameplay.
That's so wild. Like, people in the zombies community play the game only for that. Like, some people will jump in, they will only do that, and then they'll log off. Right. That's me, more or less.
Okay, so get the Easter egg done.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, or they'll just rinse it over and over again. So,
but why? Why?
Because it feels like the highest, beyond just high rounds, it's the highest skill check activity that you can find in the game. There is no other skill check. And in Cold War, honestly, those Easter eggs were pretty easy relative to the older ones. I mean, like, did you play much Black Ops 3 beyond that one map that you remember, or not really?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
That's when I first did my toes in for the the stuff.
I mean, there's you have to fight like dragon bosses, and you go to space and fight an old man and all sorts of weird stuff.
It's a big blue man, a lady, and a
the lady's on our side, thankfully, or we'd all be dead otherwise. But yeah, there's an old bloke with a scarf who's actually, he's played by Malcolm McDowell. If you've ever seen like Clockwork Orange, or a bunch of other stuff, he's like famous actor. I think he's actually, he may have passed away now. I'm not sure. But people will basically just rinse those like objectives because there is nothing else in the game that truly says, are you good enough at this game to get through this activity, like those main quest Easter eggs. Right. And so Modern Warfare Zombies, having a worm boss at the end of the Act 3 final mission, the Defeat Zakayev mission, that was very cool. That was like going in Easter egg direction, but there was no complexity in getting there. Like, it's all easy. Like, the worm...
You're on rails.
Yeah, it's super on rails. And the worm dies super fast. So it's still not really quite there. Whereas when we do get a proper Easter egg, it's going to require a lot of thought to solve it. But then it's also, presumably, as long as they don't mess us about with this, going to just be really hard.
So are we talking almost Destiny raid boss level?
It's the original Destiny raid in a way that I know my community is going to be like, well, let's be careful
actually,
here. I mean... the original Destiny raid in theory is like a WoW raid, right?
Okay.
But I think that Destiny has to have learned from Zombies Easter eggs, because Zombies Easter eggs are in a way they are the deployment of a raid in a game that does not support raids. Like,
gotcha.
Zombies historically has not had the RPG systems of WoW, right? And so you spawn in a given match and you are at a complete equal ground and equal footing to another player spawning in their game. But one player might only be able to get to round 10, whereas another player might be able to get to round 50, teleport into a secret boss fight, defeat a dragon, and walk away with a bunch of like clout, more or less.
And so we're saying we're still waiting for that in Modern Warfare Zombies.
Yes, but it's confirmed to be coming at some point.
Okay.
So that,
but that will bring me back.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to do that. We'll have to make sure of that. But it's interesting because if you like, I feel like I'm using you as a little bit of a guinea pig here. Forgive me, but if you aren't super clued into the fact that that's even coming in the game, and that's not like a leak, that's just they've said to the Zombies community, like, we will do this at some point, guys. Don't worry, it just won't be at launch. That indicates to me that there's probably a huge number of DMZ players or converted DMZ players who are dabbling with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies that also have no idea that that's on the way. And that's really exciting because that means that whenever it comes, season 2, season 3, season 4, whenever, there's suddenly going to be a new like pinnacle raid objective for you to get through that's going to be a grind. Like, it's going to be hard. So that's exciting.
I mean, I'm excited about the tier 4 and the rifts, as you say.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll actually find some difficulty here. I'm going to be like actually on my toes here.
Right.
You know?
So
like the same as tier 3 solo, for instance, with a knife. That's like fun, you know?
For you, do you feel like if tier 4, so tier 4 as we understand it right now, and the rift system seems to be, it's extra hard. You go in, you have contracts that you need to complete over the space of 30 minutes, and then you exfil, and it's done.
Okay. All right.
Do you feel like the contract system is like narrows down the amount of fun that you have? Obviously, contracts were in DMZ as well, but when it's PvE, like, do you mind those? Do you feel like the DMZ community is anti-contracts in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, or is it like, they're fine, it's whatever, it's just like the rest of the game doesn't support the frenetic chaos that I am looking for here? Like, is it the contract's fault or no, would you say?
No, I wouldn't say it's that. Like, the contracts are fine. Like, I actually enjoy the HVTs. It's kind of like a little bit like it's almost like, you remember those like Spider-Man missions where they're like, Spider-Man, you need to go over there and do that thing and kill and beat that guy off the roof. And you're like, okay, yeah, beat him off the roof. Yeah. And then you go and do it. I could do those for hours. And like, those are pretty fun. I don't mind doing those, especially the tier 3 ones, because the tier 3 ones, you usually have to lead the HVT to a turret.
Yeah.
Or you have to actually actively think, am I going to be able to do this with what I have? Or am I going to have to go get a self-res and X, Y, Z? Like, that's why I like tier 3 so much, because it actually feels like I actually have to think about which contracts I'm going to do, because they're more difficult.
So you just need, it just needs to be harder then.
Yeah.
It's not like the fact that it's a PvE experience in theory, it's just that it's an easy PvE experience right now.
But it's also very predictable for me. Like, I go into the round and I kind of just know, like, I'm not going to have anything weird happen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go in. I've got the things I need, and I know that no one's going to ruin it. So I'm probably just going to get away with whatever I want to do and exfil, and that'll be that. And everyone in my audience knows that as well. They're literally just like, okay, well, we are now watching you for 40 minutes until you decide to leave, and there's no kind of feeling of, oh my God, is he going to make it? Is he not going to make it? There's no jeopardy, which is what we talked about.
Okay, so did DMZ, beyond the PvP aspects of it, which obviously were a massive contributor to the chaos, right?
Yes.
Were there any other key factors that mode had that you feel like could be brought over to Modern Warfare 3 to help kind of fix that problem? Like, was there any kind of random event system? Were there any were there random events? I don't remember if that was a thing or not.
I mean, actually making loot rare. You know, like for instance, you know, finding flawless crystals is great. It's probably better than anything we had in DMZ.
Okay.
Like, finding a GPU in DMZ was the absolute pinnacle of anything gear related.
And those were exciting because they were worth 10 grand. Is that right?
And they were worth 10 grand, and also they got missions. That you had a mission to do it. So
I see.
We had a lot of people like trying to find them, and they
Yep.
just couldn't. Damascus tags as well from players. Because
Can you explain what that was?
So Damascus tag is once you've had an extraction streak of 10, when you died, you would then drop a Damascus tag. And then you could take that and extract it, and there were certain missions and upgrades that required a Damascus tag in order to advance in the upgrades.
Wow, that's a like very limited sort of experience that you could play for 100 hours and never find someone else with a tag. Oh.
So I played for, so there was a 500-hour gap between one Damascus tag and the other one.
Oh my god!
Because people wouldn't bring in their agents that had them. They'd get their 10 exfil streak and then be like, right, basically that guy's never coming out again. So people would purposely not bring them in. So it was kind of like it was forced that way. Like people could, if they forced people to actually bring them in, then there'd be loads. But
so maybe if there was another mission that said, while playing as a character with a Damascus tag, do blah, just to like incentivize it, then it would have been like, you've got people grinding to get it and people grinding at risk of losing it. And you kind of have like a self-sustaining ecosystem that way.
I mean, once they fixed the crashes in Zombies, if they actually had an inflated, like, you need to complete these missions once you've extracted 5 times.
Yeah.
And then you have to do a really hard mission. And if you die, you've got to then extract 5 more times before you can even attempt that again.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. That's making my brain go, there's possibilities there.
Because then you obviously just do normal runs, or you cheese it, you go in, extract, I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever. But at least it's a time factor. Like, you've put time into this, and there is actually something to lose for once.
Yeah. So, was there anything else that was random in DMZ, or was that pretty much it? Because I'm thinking, like, if the DMZ randomness mainly came down to those things that you mentioned, obviously Zombies doesn't have the PvP chaos, so you don't have the risk that while playing with your Damascus tags, some other player is going to kill you. Like, it's only the threat of the zombies, right?
That's correct, yeah.
I'm thinking, like, what kind of randomness could they introduce into the mode that would just give us that kind of flavor in that direction? Because, for example, there's the Bloodburner bike. I don't know, have you found the bike so far?
Yeah, I found the bike.
So, like, that bike, I think, is great. It's rare. It's hard to find. I love the fact that it's rare. I love the fact that
it does sometimes cause the game to crash, though.
Does it?
Yeah. Or maybe it was lucky. It was unlucky. But last time we picked it up, we drove it around. My game crashed. Tactical Brit jumped in. His game crashed, and we were like, okay, all right. That's we didn't go near the bike after that.
Okay, good to know. Well, so
that is that. So they've added something that certainly gives a bit of jeopardy because you don't know if your game's gonna crash.
Wrong kind of jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean, once they fix that, yeah.
So assuming the crashes are fixed there, so that's like one positive thing. And like I've had gameplays actually. I've jumped in to just do like a camo grinding video or something. And then I found the bike and I'm like, well, this is a different video now because I'm going to just have a different experience. So that's cool. Do you think adding, for example, the like, let's say the worm boss, right? The worm boss that you can specifically teleport out of the map to, you fly into a new map, you fight the boss there. Do you think if they had random instances where the worm would just sort of pop up, that would help? Like, is that kind of in the right direction, or do you think that even still would just be too like, oh, the worm's there, but I can just drive away from it, so why do I care, kind of thing?
No, do you know what's funny? You just reminded me about the Butcher in Diablo.
Oh, I've not played Diablo, so tell me more.
So they actually have the Butcher in DMZ. So as part of the Halloween event, you went through a portal and you fight a boss called the Butcher. Do you remember that?
Wait, is this the Butcher? I think in the Haunting, in the most recent Haunting,
yes,
Warzone, they had that, the Butcher as well. I took the Butcher down, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
In Diablo, as you are randomly leveling, completely randomly, you will be attacked by the Butcher, and he will chase you down, and he will kill you. But if you kill, and he is super strong, like insanely strong.
Okay.
And obviously, so it's one of those things where you're just running around doing a normal thing. You might even be on low on health. You have 1 health. Butcher spawns, instantly just starts hitting you and just does not leave you alone, and literally like continues to like hook you.
Damn.
And he's just pulling you back. And if they had something like that in Zombies, like I'm just, I'm in the highest echelon tier, like I'm in doing a really hard mission, and then I have this boss on me, and he will literally not stop until you like either kill him or leave the area.
Yeah.
You know? But
Wow.
if you kill him, insane loot. Some of the
Yeah.
best loot you could ever imagine. But he's insanely hard. Like you are always underleveled. He's always overleveled. He's always like way
He needs to be
stronger
like a
than you
tier
are.
5 enemy then.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you're running around, and it was a huge thing. Again, another like almost like the weapon case of DMZ. Killing the butcher was the biggest achievement in Diablo if you could do it at a low level without
Right.
good gear. And so yeah, something like that would be incredible for Jeopardy. You know, you're just running around doing anything. It only spawns like once every 5 rounds. He
Yeah.
attacks you, and you're just like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm 100% dead.
So
like,
I wonder if something that would really help here is
Yeah.
if there was like a button I could press in the game's menus, or I could do it when I spawn in. Like, so
yes.
do you remember the rampage inducer in Cold War?
No, I don't remember
Okay.
that. I don't remember.
That's all good. So they added in a thing that a lot of players didn't even know existed. But basically, it's a specific interactable in the very beginning
Right.
of your match.
Okay.
And if you interact with it, it instantly makes all the zombies as if it was already round 30. So
Yes.
no more walkers, no more like slow, boring, like no threat. Instead, it's like the game begins and you are instantly on edge. You could die round
Yes.
2. Like there's
Yes.
genuine risk, right?
Genuinely that, yeah.
So the Rampage Inducer was a way of basically saying, we recognize that some players find rounds 1 to 15 boring because it's so slow. Here is a switch that you can flick to make your life hell.
Yes.
Maybe we need a Modern Warfare 3 Zombies Rampage Inducer where like every player spawns nearby something that just for the first 60 seconds of the game is interactable. Like it wouldn't even need to be there like outside of those first 60 seconds, I feel like. But
Sure.
like maybe it's, I don't know, maybe you spawn in and you have a little glow stick in your inventory and you like crack the glow stick and your character waves it in the air and it's for some reason just makes like all the zombies path to you like 5 times more aggressively, and it means that you're more likely to get zombie spawns that are like higher tier zombies, as in your manglers, your mimics, your whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe that is also the thing that means that you are then able to get better loot potentially. Like you can only get high tier loot from a certain objective, a tier 4 objective, if you've cracked your glow stick. But it also then means that you are opening yourself up to the possibility of the butcher spawn or the worm spawn or
Yes.
whatever the like a mega tier 5 thing is. Like maybe that's a way to preserve it.
They have the butcher in the game. They could literally add the butcher, and it's part of the same IP, so it would literally like or same umbrella company. So they could literally add the butcher. And
wait.
I guess it wouldn't be canon if they don't have it like, but I'm just saying they could literally do that.
I mean,
And
they
it'd be
could
crazy.
they could make it canon just in the sense that it wouldn't need to be the Diablo Butcher. It could just be a Dark Ether entity called
Sure.
the Butcher still, potentially.
Sure.
Or I guess they could honestly just change its name, like call it the Meat Man or something.
the Badger, like whatever. Just
Yeah.
change his name, his face a little bit. Yeah.
But that would be nuts. I've not considered that possibility at all. But Treyarch, if you're listening, take some friggin' notes here, guys. Like, what the hell?
if you're looking at what's most popular now is taking those original. So look at WoW, for instance, World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
They're taking those original experiences and forcibly making them harder, even when they were already hard.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, WoW Hardcore is the most popular like thing in WoW right now.
Okay.
The chance, the people. WoW was kind of like dying off a bit. People don't really watch anymore. It gets a bit boring.
Sure.
Now, once your character dies, that's it. Your character's dead forever.
Oh, is
You
it? It's like permadeath?
permadeath. I mean,
Oh.
obviously, I don't know about that for zombies, but certainly some sort of thing taking the original mode and just making it ridiculously hard to the point where, people will want to watch you because if you die at any point, you lose all your stuff instantly.
Yeah. This
And
raising the
almost like-
stakes in a massive way.
Absolutely. And I think that is where kind of like, we all know the zombies experience. We've played it since, was it World at War?
Yeah.
The original one.
Yep.
We've all had that experience. Take that or like take, the new concept with the open world and just make it instantly like hardcore. You choose the path and it happens and like the craziest stuff happens instantly.
Yeah. Okay, so
And you have to survive it.
another example of that would be the Destiny raids, but the hard mode version of the raids. Have you done any of those?
I don't know I don't know about those.
Okay. So have you done any Destiny raids at all or no?
I watched them occasionally.
Sweet.
To see
So-
how they are, yeah.
Those raids are like really cool, but they do get to a point where once you know how to do them, you can you can cheese a boss in 10 seconds or you can farm the raids pretty straightforwardly as long as you got like good comms, right?
Sure.
But they've done limited hard mode versions of the raids where the bosses just do more damage and it's just everything is just cranked up. And I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, and I've not played a lot of Destiny and also haven't played a lot of Destiny recently, I've just jumped in for specific bits and pieces. So I got like first 24-hour clear on a whatever they call the like half raids. I forget the name of the one I'm thinking, but like, so I jumped in, grinded for that. I've done Last Wish. I've done a bunch of the raids, but like for the hard mode ones, I don't know if it's the first 24 hours of the raid are harder and then they make it easier after that point. I can't recall fully, but
I wouldn't know.
I know that those hard versions are something that a lot of the hardcore players in the community have wanted to come back loads because they're like, I want this to be as difficult as possible because when it's just easy, when it's a cakewalk, it's not fun anymore.
Yes.
So that community's had this like a similar thing with their kind of pinnacle objectives.
Yeah.
And in Zombies, we've had a complex conversation, I think, over the years because the Easter eggs have been usually very challenging. Some are easier than others. But an example for the people watching, an Easter egg like the Blood of the Dead Easter egg solo is just not an easy experience. It's a very fiddly, tricky experience, which is great. But even for some players, that's still too easy. And so COD over the years has gone, well, if only 1% of people are jumping into this main quest Easter egg that we're dedicating a significant amount of development time to,
resources, yeah.
the risk reward, or sorry, the ROI on us making that is super low. Like, why make something for 1% of people when we could make something for 90% of people, right?
Yeah.
So things have tended in the direction of casuals, and that, I think, is a big culprit of why Modern Warfare Zombies exists, and also why it's so successful, to be honest, because it is catering to casual players in a big way.
Yes.
But the challenge, I think, that they've yet to crack, and the task that I think that they have ahead of them, especially going into a game with multiple round-based zombies maps next year, is how the hell do they keep all those casuals happy while also locking some of the coolest stuff behind objectives that only 0.5% of the player base can do? Like, how do they do that? I'm curious, was there anything beyond the chemist in DMZ? Was there anything there, or honestly in any other game that you've played, where it genuinely is a really cool reward, but 0.1% or 0.5% of the player base could actually get it? Like, have you seen that aggressive kind of a reward structure before, or is that not super common in your experience?
In DMZ, the Serpentine camo. Do you know about that?
I do not. Tell me more.
Okay, so there was a specific like untold thing, I think, again, Easter egg level thing. Yep. You had to get 5 extremely rare items from each of the maps. I think it was 4 or 5. You had to, and I'm pretty sure you had to also take each item into each extraction every round. I might be mistaken about this, but if I remember correctly. So you had to basically find a rare item in map 1.
Give me an example of the item. Are we talking like a golden skull? Like one of those sorts of like rare
something
things?
like that, but it was even rarer than that. In fact, if I remember correctly, do you remember the bartering system? Okay, so season 3 or 4, they added the bartering system where you traded in rare items to create other items. And essentially, you would take 5 gold skulls and 5 gold bars, for instance, and trade it for 1 item. You would then take that item into the next map and get 5 rare items and that item and trade it into another item. You would then take that item from there into the next map and trade that item with 5 other rare items. Yeah. And then you would go to the final map with that rare item with, remember, 4 iterations to get to that point. And if you die, you would lose all the progress and you'd have to start from the beginning again.
Oh my God.
So they did have it. I think I did it twice to get Westy and Fix. Yeah, no, but I didn't bother. I was like, you guys can have it. It's fine. Yeah. I didn't want to put them through it for a third time. And then eventually you unlocked a really ugly skin, but still, it was really ugly, yeah, and no one liked it. But
and so that was still Serpentine. Rare. That was the name.
Serpentine camo, yeah. And then you took it back into the original map, all the 5 items in one, final item that you'd had to trade up and trade up and trade up, and then you took it in. You did. You pressed a button, and then it popped out and said you've got the skin.
That is. I, for the record, stopped playing DMZ, and in fact stopped playing all of Modern Warfare 2 around midway through season 1, maybe.
Fair.
I just had other stuff that I was doing. I've like
Sure.
a bunch of other business projects and bits and pieces that just weren't even content. And so the last thing I did was when Ashika Island came out, whenever that was. I don't know. I can't remember.
Season 2, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so I played that maybe 10 times, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do other things. But so I didn't even know that bartering system existed. I didn't know that camo existed. But that sounds freaking awesome. Like in the same way, I'm here being like, oh, you don't know about this like Black Ops 3 Easter egg. That's so cool. There's like this whole experience that you could have there now. Like in the same way, I'm like, damn, do I want to go back to DMZ and get Serpentine? Like that sounds awesome.
Now would be a pretty good time, but make sure you go on US servers because you have to remember that ever since about season 2 onwards, we've had the issue of the out of region teams.
Wait, what does that mean?
So players who are VPNing from Asia to join the EU servers.
Wait.
And well, this is what I think. So it's actually easier now because the what's it called? The making of platoons, they limited that to 4.
Okay, so you can only get max 4 people in your squad?
Yes, so from season 2 till about season 6, I think it was maximum 6 persons per platoon.
Yeah.
And what was happening was that the Asian players were VPNing to Europe and then pre-making 6-man teams to basically like dominate the map every round. That was
really?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
That sounds cool as hell, to be honest. Obviously it'd be annoying, but like, that still sounds sick. Like the fact that even was possible. What?
Yeah. So if you just like 1, 2, 3 joined, and then obviously they're both, you would have the 2 teams would join up in the round, and you'd be facing a 6-man team off the bat, like almost like once every 2 rounds, and that was mainly EU. You still get it on EU, and now that MW3 is out, the out of region players in Asia are still mainly playing DMZ because it's free. They're not playing the new game. So there is a lot of out of region players who are still pre-making 4-mans and just like going around the map and just destroying everybody.
Dude, I see what you're meaning now when you're saying that there are these sorts of random player interactions that you might be able to have.
Yeah. But that was the content.
Yeah, 30 minutes through a match and then an out of region team comes along and you're like, oh my freaking God, what am I going to do? Like, that instantly, I'm like, I want to experience that right now. Like that sounds cool as hell.
But it was cool, but it was also frustrating.
I can imagine. Yeah,
because they would literally like just gang up on you every single round. On EU, NA, it was fairyland. Everything's lovely. Nothing happens. They don't bother VPNing to the US. But on EU, like back in literally maybe 3 months ago, it was just like every single round. Potentially 2 6-man teams just going around just killing everybody.
Wow.
On the server. And then they kind of put a stop to it when they reduced it to 4-mans.
Yeah.
But now because a lot of people have moved over to MW3, there's still a lot of those out of region teams, which are the majority of people you'll see on EU now.
That's why the fact that I had no idea that existed.
Yeah. They don't always like make these pre-made teams. Some people, because you have to remember that they don't have access to Call of Duty legally in Asian servers. So
wait, that's just not a thing there?
In China, yeah, specifically.
What? Okay, damn.
I'm pretty sure. As far as I know, Call of Duty is just like banned. So they have to go to EU servers. So that's the issue.
That's mad.
And that's blown your mind. You had no idea this is going on. Yeah.
Okay, so while I've been just dithering around here and there doing my little business projects this year, meanwhile, these gangs of players have been massacring all these
we're trying to
players.
we're trying to be respectful. They might not necessarily be from China, but it's mainly from the Asian region.
Sure.
And also Eastern European teams as well, and even any kind of French, German. I've seen them all.
Yeah.
But essentially, that was a big problem. But yeah, they've kind of solved that now by reducing the max team for 4.
Interesting. Okay,
but that was content.
Yeah, like would certainly
killing a 6-man team. Was pretty good content for about 3 months.
And trying to do that while getting Serpentine, like that sounds like a real melting pot for chaos.
Yeah, avoiding the 6-man teams whilst trying to exfil these extremely rare items.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, that you needed to know that. That was one of the biggest like content things in
Yeah.
DMZ for like 6 months because it was rampant. Like every game you would have these huge like 6-man teams just like going around.
So
yeah.
is there something, obviously that was, I'm looking at it having not experienced it and in hindsight being like, well, that sounds kind of cool actually. But I'm also a big fan of like hostile takeovers of games by players. I think that they're just fascinating when they happen, like things that the developers didn't intend, but the players are able to do it. And therefore the whole experience is commandeered by this outside force in a sense.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't see the pre-made teams coming. Like that was definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
It's way too easy to get into the same lobbies with 2 teams of 3.
Right.
And that happened regardless of the outer region people, but
yeah.
but
so with that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. I'm wondering what could zombies do to bring that level of variability and that level of chaos and that level of agency. I think what a lot of it comes down to is agency. As it stands right now in zombies, I don't have a huge amount of control over things in my match, like taking me by surprise, or I don't have any way to do things that are surprising myself. Like
same. Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah, it's a mode where you spawn in and you know what you are capable of, and you know what the game is capable of, and so there is sort of a conversation that happens that is a similar conversation every match, and then you leave.
Yep.
And obviously these 6-man teams, as much as I'm sure many players absolutely detested the fact that players from wherever around the world would be able to affect your experience in that way, it would also at least mean that you were having an affected experience, which I'm a fan of, right? So I'm curious, like, is there some way that energy can be brought into zombies? Because, like, for example, so I was the first person to take down the worm boss fight. I just didn't sleep and just grinded through all the missions. And I found a random player in the map that was on his second game of Modern Warfare 3 while I was on that final mission. I brought him into my squad, and then we brought him to the boss. So this random guy called Brian Y123 was accidentally the first person ever to take the worm boss down. Which,
there you go.
That, I think, is amazing, phenomenal, like, so freaking cool that was possible. But it feels like it kind of stopped there. Like, I've gone into the worm boss fight with randoms, I've squatted up with them and brought them in, and it's been fun, but I feel like there needs to be another level to that, but I don't necessarily know what that should be.
World bosses. Easy.
You reckon that's the key, is just put the worm in the main map?
Okay, maybe not in the worm, just a giant mega abomination. Just like every so often, maybe not every round, because I think that would just be like, oh, another one spawned. Should we go join the other guys? Yeah, like make it a rare event. 1 in every 5 games per player, and then like, wait, did the world boss just spawn? Dude, we need to get over there right now.
Yeah.
Let's go. And it is a sense of urgency because you're only going to see it once a day. Maybe. Yeah. And if you don't get there in time, they'll get the boss and he'll drop flawless Ethereum. He'll drop, legendary tools guaranteed almost every time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like stuff like that. And I mean, as far as we know with the rifts, right? The level 4 rifts, are they going to be in set locations?
Yeah, they are not in Urzikstan.
Right. But they're going to be in the same place every time.
As in to get into them, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Why isn't there like you're just trying a thing and you walk into a bathroom and there's a red portal in there and you're like, oh my god, it's the rare portal that takes me to the land of loot and I need to go in there and defeat the butcher again, or like not the butcher, but some sort of thing. These random events where you don't know, you have to go and check every building just in case there's a red rift in there that will take you to the land of the loot where you'll get the good stuff and it's rare. Yeah. It's like 1 in every 100 houses will have that thing, and it makes you want to search. What if it's like even an item? You find that rare item, it's like a crystal, you break it, it takes you to the portal.
Well, so
you have to find.
As far as I understand it, that might be actually how the rifts work, because there are sigils. And I think the sigils work like building 21 keycards. And I don't know this, but my assumption is that either you use the sigil up when you spawn in as an acquisition, and that creates a portal in front of you, or there'll be fixed locations and you just need to plug the sigil in. I don't know which of the two it is, but it sounds like if you could just break it and then the portal spawns in, then that kind of is what you're talking about there a little bit.
Yeah.
Something I would be really curious to get your stance on is, the different game design options that they have with regards to option A.
Yeah.
You randomly go into a bathroom and you find a red rift and you're like, hell yeah, I found the rift and now I can go in this match, right? Mm-hmm. The detail of that being that you cannot go into the activity unless you find it. So there is an element of randomness and an element of the game gatekeeping you with the randomness, right?
Yeah.
Option B, you have a boss, for example, or a rift or whatever that spawns in, and it will just spawn in randomly, whatever. But it's pretty consistent that you'll find it every 5 games or so. So it feels like the randomness is more narrow. You're pretty likely to find it within a couple of matches, right?
Saying, yeah.
So that as an option. Or I want to present the third option here that either there is a weekly update and like for an hour a week or some similar cadence, this thing is in the map and you just have to jump in that time and play, sort of similar to a Fortnite update where they'd have like a Fortnite like world event, seasonal event type thing. Or it could even be that it's just specific to the beginning of a season or end of a season or whatever. I don't want to specify a cadence necessarily, but just having a time where it's like, this is the time and the map is different during this time. And so the randomness is removed. And instead the onus is on the player to jump in to choose to plug in for that particular experience. Maybe it's like a weekend event so that there's more time for people to be able to get in. So it's not like 1 hour and people miss it. I think Fortnite events happen for like 3 days. You can replay them for like 3 days and then they'll go away, whatever. Of those 3, which do you think would be the best suited here? I mean, in an ideal world, we'd probably have all of them. But what do you think would suit best here?
I feel like that third option for me it doesn't interest me. I'd do it, and then that would be that. It doesn't make me want to play the game more.
Right.
You know, that doesn't increase my the retention, if you want to put it that way. Whereas if I'm having to go like, dude, I got to search all these houses just in case it's got a portal in it, dude.
Yeah.
Or in case it's got this item that I want to find. That's what, like, for instance, if you ever play Dying Light, the original or the Dying Light 2.
Yep.
I picked up and searched every single item just in case you found that good weapon, you found that good attachment, you found that good like loot. I would search everything several times. That's like what kept me playing the game. I would raid the same house, load out, load back in. You know, I was obsessed with finding the best loot. That's what kept me playing the game. So that kind of idea that you could go into any building and you just wouldn't know unless you open that door or you opened that fridge. You know, it could be in a fridge, who knows? Like, you want to find those items, like, and then it creates, and then when you do, it's like Borderlands as well. You keep searching and searching, and one day you find that legendary item and you feel like, you're like, oh my god, I'm glad I looked in that dirt pile.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it makes the menial tasks of just looting, like, I don't give a crap about searching for loot in zombies or even DMZ now. I don't even look at it. I don't even look in the buildings. I just wander around. I've got everything I need.
Right.
You know, I've got flawless crystals. I've got legendary tools. Who gives a crap what's in the fridge?
Yeah.
But if you put that there, you put that, like, what if you found the rarest item in a fridge right now? You know, like, what if you found this portal that takes you to the amazing boss fight that drops the best loot? Like,
I'd certainly care about the fridge
mind.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because as it stands right now, I mostly agree. I don't give a damn about the fridges. Like, why would I look in one? The only exception being one which I think is kind of an unfortunate addition. So I do continue to sort of loot fridges and stuff like that and duffel bags and stuff, purely because there's the occasional chance that there'll be an item worth like $200 instead of like $25, and then I can sell it. But the reason that that's even kind of interesting in the first place is because the grind is so annoying and so frustrating to just get money to get tier 3 Pack-a-Punch. And so it's relieving a pain point to find that money. And I feel like that's not the ideal sort of scenario for my motivations to be guided by. Like, I don't want it to be, well, the game is a bit annoying, so I need a solution. Sorry?
Yeah. It feels like a chore.
Exactly,
You're doing chores. Whereas I am actively seeking out, and if I find some expensive items along the way, sweet, I'm going to be taking that $2,000 GPU. I'll be taking that $1,000 classified documents, along the way.
Yeah.
So there's also like you get those like hits of dopamine from finding the good items occasionally, but what you're really looking for is that, that legendary item that you find in 0.01% of lootable objects.
Yeah, you've sold me, dude. I need that to happen. And dude, I've just thought an example use case for the sort of butcher type interactions. Put instead of a gold skull, because you can get the gold skull in the game, it's worth $5,000, and it's sort of like, okay, fine, whatever, right? I don't really care about it that much, right?
Yeah.
Put a diamond skull in a in a duffel bag somewhere, like one a match maybe, just to make sure that it's super rare, right?
Sure.
Put it in. As soon as you pick it up, that is like the signal to the dark ether that you're stealing its prized possessions, and that's what causes some kind of big boss to spawn in to come and hunt you down to get its skull back. Like,
sure,
that kind of willingness to say, okay, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to expose myself to this danger here so that the casual players can opt out of it, because I think...
Yeah, for sure.
That's
you don't want to just be randomly killed, but you do want to be involved. Or maybe you go, okay, I've heard about this crystal skull, maybe I'll pick it up this time, and then you just get absolutely destroyed. You're like, okay, I'm not.
But it gives you something to work towards. Then you're like, I'll come back in 3 games time when I've got all my stuff loaded up, and I'll go hunt for that skull, and I'll succeed in that quest, right?
Yes.
But just doing something in that way where, whether it's a rampage inducer type thing at the beginning of the match, or whether it's just a button that you press in a certain building and then it has some kind of transformation, or whether it's an item that you pick up and then it tracks what's in your inventory, like, it just sounds so freaking awesome. Like, if I felt like I was stealing an artifact from this dark ether entity, this being, and it was annoyed at me, and like maybe I start getting like custom voice lines like yelling at me, being like, you give me back my skull right now. Like, that would be so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Treyarch,
come on,
take the ideas and run with them, please.
For sure. Like, there's so many things, there's so many ways that you can just create just jeopardy, tension. But obviously you're talking about it in a way that's also accessible, so we're not just absolutely destroying people who've picked up the game. Oh, what's this crystal? Oh god, like I've just picked up the game for the first time and I just got instantly killed. I hate that, which is again a problem that DMZ had, where your first experience of the game could be against a 6-man team out of nowhere, and
right?
You go, oh, that sucked. I probably won't play this again because that was not fun.
Yeah,
So you're kind of like gating it from the casual players, but still allowing people who were looking for that experience to just go, yes, finally, I've found it. It's rare, but also I challenge myself at the same time. Maybe I'll die.
Yeah.
But at least I'll be prepared for the next time.
Yeah, I think that's what it all boils down to for me, is that this game is clearly a casual focused game. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like, if you bring a load of new people into the Zombies fold, and then next year, Treyarch's main game comes out, and they've got more Zombies experiences, and some of those new players are willing to jump in there, like, that's a win for round-based, even though they're not getting round-based now, right? It's still a win. And so I recognize the need for it to be casual-focused, and also, if it's casual-focused, then that means that there's a massive, like, let's say, like, 90%, this is obviously a nonsense number, but let's say 90% of Modern Warfare 3 players were all grinding Zombies every day instead of Warzone. Obviously, Zombies would get more updates, Zombies would get more focus, Zombies would get more budget, etc. So I recognize the need for casuals to be spoken to, and the need for casuals to not have an experience like they might have done game 1 of DMZ, getting stomped by someone in a 6-man squad. Like, we need to find ways to make sure that those experiences aren't the default, so that people have a good time, they get into it, but some kind of progression so that that element of chaos and that variability and that difficulty is there for the people that want it, such as ourselves. Because ultimately, in a world where I didn't care about any other player, absolutely, I would want that butcher to just spawn in randomly and just attack me in random games, and there to be no opt-in, right?
Yes.
But also, the world we live in is one where not everyone has the exact same playstyle and goals as a player as I do and as you do. So the middle ground, I think, probably is some sort of opt-in mechanic, which honestly, they may just be saving for, like, yep, the opt-in is the rift. So you go in the rift once, maybe you're cursed from then on, and that can just happen. Sure. I don't know. Who knows, right?
You're basically turning on hardcore mode.
Yeah, and they could even do it where, like, you enter the rift, it infects your character. So, like, your character from that point is constantly in hard mode and you can't do anything about it. But if you change to a different operator, that operator's not infected until they go in the rift. That could be a way to like separate it so that you could still have the more casual experience if you really wanted to.
What if you unlocked a fourth agent who was your hardcore agent?
Yeah.
After doing Act 3.
Hell yeah.
So,
what if you could only do it as Bone Collector? You have a lot of Bone Collectors running around.
You have your fourth agent, and whenever you play on that agent, it unlocks all of the harder stuff in the game.
Yeah.
For when you load in.
Like that specific agent.
And that forces you to basically go through the training of doing Act 1, 2, and 3 to throughout the game, and you should be ready by that point.
And so then the difference maybe could be as simple as when you're playing in that fourth operator slot, you have to like make it canon, you have the same sort of story weirdness going on with the Dark Ether that Dr. Jansen has when her eyes go that like purple color in the cutscene. Maybe that means that she's got some kind of vision. She can see stuff that other players can't, right? So maybe you jump into the match and similar to how you would have depth perception, maybe you can see an item that a casual player actually can't even accidentally find. Like, or you can see a portal that another player can't even see. And you like hop in a portal and disappear, or like you get flown into the air. Another player looks at you and they're like, how the hell did that happen? Create those moments. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. And there you go. And that means all players can still play in the same server, but there's still that extra level of difficulty. And I guess if you really wanted to, you'd still be able to get rezzed by those players if you did die to the things that they can't see. And so at least that would be at least a backup, but maybe you're not allowed to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, the last bit there kind of sounds like, have you played Bloodborne?
I played it very, very briefly.
Okay, so I'll avoid saying too much in case you do decide to go back to it at some point, but basically there's just there's a moment in the game where I'm really limiting how much I say here because I don't want to spoil this because it's a really cool moment in the game. Basically,
but the mechanic
involves you being able to see something that's like a boss of some kind, and going from not being able to see it, right? And for those of you that are listening to this right now that know what I'm talking about, that kind of thing in this world, this Urzikstan zombies, Modern Warfare Zombies context, that would be so cool.
There you go. We're coming up with the mechanics right here. You could try out, it's right there. See? So this has been an amazing convo. You've got my brain firing on a whole load of new ideas that I didn't even know were sort of needed, but now I'm like, sure.
The laundry list of content that I'm looking for is getting longer by the day.
Awesome.
This has been amazing. Where can people find you, your social channels, your YouTube, stuff like that, if they want to catch up with more Stod in the future?
YouTube.com/Stodeh, Twitch.tv/Stodeh. And that's it, really.
Amazing.
I wouldn't bother with the other platforms.
He's nothing if not honest. That's for sure.
Don't worry about those.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And awesome, I hope that season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and beyond bring us all the things that we've just dreamt up over the past hour and 15 minutes. Fingers crossed.
For sure. You can drag me into some Easter eggs.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Hell yeah, I look forward to it.